Oh, hello.
Good morning.
Good morning, and welcome to take 2 of our YouTube show this week. So if you did join us yesterday, you will know that we were cut short.
We were indeed.
Which is,
not good for us.
No, absolutely not. Unfortunately, we had internet issues yesterday, and the show went off. And by the time we kind of we realised what was going on and tried to sort it out, there wasn't anything we could do. So we decided to do it all again for you this morning. So here we are. So you're going to have the whole show again from start to finish.
Fingers crossed, we've talked nicely to the internet. Let's hope it stays live all morning.
Yeah, absolutely. So, oh my goodness, what a week we're having this week. If you're not in our Facebook group, you might not be aware that we are, as we speak, on day 4 of our 5-day self-love challenge. And what a week it's been.
Amazing.
It has been mind-blowingly amazing. We've had some fabulous, fantastic interaction there. We've had some amazing things coming out for people, some beautiful sharing, some gorgeous support between the people that are in the group. So yeah, I think it's just been brilliant. So if you are not a part of that and you want to come over and see what's going on, it's not too late to even comment on the days that have gone, and it's not too late to be a part of that group, because it's going to be an ongoing supportive group, and we do these little challenges all the time. So below this video, in probably in the about, there will be a link to go to our Facebook group and come along and join us. And we have a whole lot of fun in there.
Yeah, it's been a really fantastic week so far, and everyone that's taking part has been amazing. And what's really lovely, the kind of self-love challenge that we do massively is very much what kind of was my first insight around kind of why I'd got into the messes I'd got into was around sort of self-love, and the area I'd got into a mess was relationships, which leads very nicely into Relationship School, which we wanted to tell you a little bit about. So our next online program that we're starting in April, it's an 8-week program called Relationship School, and it's all the things that we wish we had known about relationships. And it's 8 weeks. It's a live program that you can kind of join in with. There's lots of content going to be there that's pre-prepared, interviews with some fantastic people. We've already done a few of those this week, and they've been great.
Brilliant, yeah.
We've got some frequently asked questions for you. We've got some key video lessons for you. We've got some ebooks for you. And then as part of the program through April and May, we're live with some calls. So you can kind of join in and actually meet with us, have conversations with us online, ask us questions. And then there's a community forum in there too, so that as you're watching the videos and reading the books and joining the calls, anything that comes up that you want to ask us will be very interactive and engaged, and the community will be there kind of all working together to see what we can help each other with around relationships. And it's just, we've been building it this week, the web page and the actual membership part of it. And it's just been so much fun. What do we wish we'd known? What should we put in that would have been helpful if this was
and we're not being shy about the subjects that we're covering there.
We're doing it all. We're kind of getting into the nitty-gritty.
Absolutely. Of those things that people maybe don't want to share about their relationships. We're not being shy about any of it, are we?
Nope. So that starts in April, but you can actually, fingers crossed, the webpage and the membership will be ready for you to start signing up from Monday. And there will be content to be looking through and working through before we start live in April. And then that content will also be available after the live part of the school has finished. So after May, you'll still have access to all of the content, to be able to keep kind of going back and reviewing and looking at it. So there's absolutely loads going on. It's going to be fantastic, and there will be some offers coming out. So if you're on our mailing list or in our Facebook group, then you'll start to see some offers for that. And we'll be talking about it a lot over the next couple of weeks, because it's our baby at the moment and it's going to be amazing. And if you're not on our mailing list or in our Facebook group, do that so that you get to see some of the offers and can start to join in with us, because it's April and May are going to be amazing months, aren't they? We're
Absolutely.
very, very excited about this program,
yes.
as you can probably tell.
And last week we had a little bit of a competition last week just for some fun. And we said, from now on our YouTube show, we are going to start regularly having little competitions to get you joining in with us. So our competition today is going to be to win on the back of the Relationship School is a relationship manual that Beck and I have written. So stay on till the end of the show to hear what it is you've got to do to win a copy of the relationship manual.
Yeah, it's a fantastic ebook that we've been putting together over the last few weeks. And it's an ebook with a difference. It's Deb and Beck style. So you get some videos in it as well.
Yeah,
so there's lots going on, and it's really solid, good content that we were reading it the other day to actually kind of check what we'd written and what we want to share. And as we were reading it, we were both like, wow,
this is good.
This would have been really useful to have known 10, 20 years ago. So yeah, it's a really good ebook. And if you want to get your hands on a copy, then stick around till the end of the show and join in with the competition. We'll be announcing that towards the end of the show.
Absolutely. So we've got a lot to get through today. Some amazing question and a great topic today. So we will get on with our living, learning and loving. So if you watched the little bit of the show that we did yesterday, we decided today to not really necessarily go back to what we said yesterday. This is a whole new, fresh day, new, fresh content. So here we are. So something Lucy has been absolutely having insights, and her mind has been I can't even describe what has been going on for Lucy over the last couple of weeks. And if you're in the Facebook group and in our challenge, you'll know that she commented on something this morning, with something incredibly personal, and shared something. Oh,
sorry, that was our phone just jumping into Ant's phone mode. Carry on, Deb.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, so Lucy shared something incredibly personal for her this morning in the Facebook group, and that's set off all sorts of amazing comments and all sorts of things. So things have been going on around Lucy for the last couple of weeks. And what I wanted to share with my living and learning is that I used to have a very difficult relationship with my daughter, my second child. I've got 3 children, and my second child, I have a daughter, then another daughter, then a son. So my middle child, I had a difficult relationship with her. And everything that we teach always points you to bring things back to you. And it really, really looked to me as if my daughter could be difficult. It didn't look like it was anything to do with me. It looked as if my daughter could be difficult. And, because of what I knew and because of what I understood, I got curious about that, and I just kept bringing it back to me. And sometimes that was really difficult. And sometimes it really, really didn't look as if it was me and as if there was anything I could do to change this. It looked like it was something outside of me going on that was nothing to do with me, and there was nothing that I could do. But because of what I teach, because of what I know, because of what I understood, I kept just bringing that back to me and looking to my own grounding and looking to, what was creating my experience. And over time, my relationship with my daughter has just blossomed and got absolutely beautiful. My daughter is amazing. She blows my mind. She is just such a fantastic person. And I was like, wow. And then since me, Lou and Beck have moved in together, something happened between me and Lucy, and we had a really, really difficult few months. It got to a point, it was really difficult. There was some tension there between us. And again, it was that same kind of thing. It was like, it looked to me as if Lucy was being difficult. From where I sat, it looked as if Lucy was making things difficult for me. So again, it was an invitation for me to take a breath and come back to me and come back to my grounding and come back to what I knew to be true. And that wasn't always easy, because trust me, it really, really, really looked as if it was something out there that was going on. And I have to hold my hands up to not absolutely knowing how the universe works. I don't know, how God, the power behind life, the universe, I don't know how this happens and how it does this. But the more that I trusted, the more that I brought this back to me, the more that I came back to my own grounding, that really started to change. And this morning when I came down, there's a lot of different things going on in our household this week because of the challenge and because of the things that we were up to. And there was Lucy, and she had her yoga mat out, and I walked past her and I just kind of looked at her and I was like, wow, I kept to my own grounding. I brought this back to me, and wow, Lucy is awesome. So I would like to take all the credit for Lucy. No.
Yeah, I was just sitting there thinking, oh, so you're the reason Lucy's so amazing.
No, it just kind of, my living and learning for that was, we've lived through these months, and my learning is again and again and again to trust what we know, to trust, to go back to this understanding, to bring this back to us and see what we can see, because I have no clue what happened, how it happened, whether what, but I know I brought these things back to me, and I have an amazing daughter and an amazing niece, and more than one amazing niece, I have to say. But yeah, and I don't, so that was it really. That really hit me this morning when I came down and saw Lucy and saw this different person there. I was different, and so is she. So yeah. And then what am I loving this week? Actually, what I'm loving this week is Beck.
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, thanks, Deb.
I cannot tell you.
Oh, I'm going to cry.
Andy!
Don't even start. I'm going to cry.
So am I. Look.
Go on then. I'm ready. Hit me with it.
I just can't tell you how brilliant it's been over the last. Basically, it's been a bit of a roller coaster ride since you guys moved down here, hasn't it? We've certainly had our ups and downs and our ins and outs and things like this.
And our loop the loops.
Yes, Lucy looped the loops and loop the. Yeah, it's been an incredible journey, and. Just this last week, basically, we have been sat together and we've been working on this relationship manual. And we were reading through it and we'd written it together. And it was like, wow, kind of looking at and seeing how far you have come and what you have done and what you have done for me and for this business. So, yeah, I love you, Beth.
Oh,
so my loving this
Ditto.
week is you. Tissue needed.
Yeah. Right then. Right, so my living, learning and loving, yesterday I don't think it recorded, so I'm kind of going to start where I started yesterday, and I no doubt will say something a bit different. But yeah, so a couple of weeks ago, I think on the show I mentioned that I'd been in some really quite deeply entrenched insecure thinking and gotten quite lost for a little while, and over the weekend it kind of we were at home. We were having like a weekend at home, which is quite rare actually. Yeah. So it kind of occurred to me to have a bit of time just sorting my space out. And because we're in a shared house, our bedrooms are kind of our space. They're probably the only space in the house that's purely ours. Yeah. So I spent a bit of time sorting out my bedroom on Sunday and really kind of, moving all the furniture, hoovering everything, polishing, moving some bits around, and yeah, kind of refreshing my bedroom and really making it shiny and lovely and a nice space to be in. And that kind of came off the back of, over the previous couple of weeks, having had a bit of a rocky ride and wanting to just feel like I'd got a clean slate. And one of the things I love about this conversation, and I've just been seeing it again and again, is when we come back to the beginning, when we come back to the start, we just get a clean slate in every single moment. And so I really took advantage of that on Sunday and kind of played around with my room and made it, I don't know, in many respects it's no different at all, and in some respects it feels like Lucy walked into it. She'd been away and she walked in and said, it feels really kind of fresh and new in here.
It does feel very different.
And I kind of, for me there was something in that, and kind of the other thing that's been going on in the last less than a week, I think, Deb and I got a new book in the post that we'd ordered, the New Testament. Oh, yes. And we've been reading that, and it's the New Testament from the Bible, but with about 10 new books in, new scriptures that they've discovered recently, maybe in the last 80 years or so, that have been added in by some Bible scholars. And so it's a New Testament. And we've been kind of reading through that, and some beautiful stuff has come out of that for us.
Been amazing.
We've had some really nice conversations. Yeah. And that actually, some of that has been pointing us back to the beginning, to creation, to what creates. So all this has kind of been going on for me. And then by the time I kind of sat down and got ready and into bed on Sunday night, it occurred to me to do something that I did 5 years ago when Deb was first talking to me about these principles. We did a 90-day online course. And as part of that, she set us a little challenge to have some daily practices, not kind of to hang everything on I'm okay if I do these, but just to start to see how we can experience life and how we experience that through our thinking. And so I kind of sat on Sunday when I got into bed and just kind of thought, do you know what, I really like the idea of having some daily practices again. So I came up with maybe about half a dozen things that I'm going to try and do at least a couple of each day. Just things like a bit of yoga and stretching, getting outside and having some fresh air, a little bit of reading, a little bit of writing, those kinds of things. And all week this week, I've just been each day kind of picking a couple of those that I wanted to do. And I've really, really enjoyed it. And one of them was meditating. And last night, every evening this week when I've got into bed, I've done a little bit of a meditation. And last night I actually listened to one, whereas the previous nights it had been just in my own kind of mind. And I listened to one last night. And it was really, really interesting because earlier in the day, Deb and I had a conversation about letting go and about Deb's experience when we did the flotation tank. Yeah. And so that was kind of in my mind when I settled down to listen to this meditation. And something Deb had said about being in the flotation tank, she'd really, really let go more than she ever had before. And I kind of thought, right, I wonder what's kind of going on there. And not with any particular intention to try and replicate Deb's experience at all, but to just see what that might mean for me. So I kind of lay down and played this. It was an hour-long meditation. So I kind of pressed play, settled into my bed, started listening. And I usually kind of do a bit of a, stretch my arms out and really relax into it. And I don't know how far into the meditation I was, but I had a really amazing experience of, I lost all feeling in my hands, but not from a scary, something's wrong way, but from a really seeing that I am not this body. Like I was still completely aware, and I had some thinking going through in fact, some of the thinking was, what if my fingers aren't there when I come out of this trance? What if they're not there when this meditation ends? What if they've actually gone? And that was going on in my mind. But then there was this other voice that was just going, if you need your hands, they'll be there. That's, if you're even meant to come out of this meditation, then they'll be there if you're meant to have them. And there was this real temptation to check. I was kind of, should I just check my fingers are there? And then I was like, no, just stay with this. This is the letting go we've been talking about. This is the coming back to the beginning that we've been talking about. And it was a very unusual experience. I've never had anything quite that deep with meditation before. And there was definitely, I really had an experience of my hands and fingers just not being there. So it was a really beautiful moment for me, because I could really see how attached I can be to those things. I'm quite attached to my fingers. They're pretty useful most of the time, and so there was definitely a moment in the midst of what was going on in that meditation. There was some voice kind of saying, you can't just trust that your fingers are going to be there. What if they're not? What if you've lost them? And then this other voice that was just, this is letting go. This is surrender. This is what's happening in this moment. And based on kind of the conversations we've been having, that was the experience I wanted to be having. I wanted to see if I could let go and whether there's more letting go that can happen another time. So it was a really, really interesting meditation. And that was kind of off the back of, over the last week or so, really exploring what it means to go back to the beginning, to have a clean slate, to create from new. And so, yeah, that's kind of what's been going on for me a little bit in my living and learning. And my loving this week, I'm actually going to cheat on this one and have two things that I'm loving. I know, shock horror. But I think the first one is actually on behalf of both of us. We are absolutely loving the people in our Facebook group.
Absolutely.
And the taking part of the challenge.
Yes, we'll have 3 between the 2 of us.
A shared one and one each.
Yeah,
it's just
totally
blown us away. The interaction, the comments, what people are up to.
You guys, basically.
Yeah. And if you're watching this and you're not in our Facebook group, just go and join it and have a look at what's happening, because it is incredible. People are really opening up, sharing, being brave, and supporting each other. Like, it's really amazed me, because this is, I think, the 3rd time we've done one of these 5-day challenges, but it's the first time I feel that we've really had a kind of a lot of interaction between each other. Like, the people in the group are really kind of sharing and supporting each other
like
too.
We're living and learning.
I know,
something, isn't it?
It's absolutely amazing. It's just been beautiful to watch.
It has been incredible.
Massive love to everybody in the Facebook group, and those of you that are joining in and taking part.
I mean, without you guys, none of this would mean anything, really, would it? It would be pointless. No. We would just be kind of talking to ourselves.
2 randomers talking to ourselves.
So it's really, really beautiful to have you as part of our community. We really value you, and we really, care deeply about you. So, and that's why we are always asking you to talk to us, to message us, to tell us what's going on for you, because we've had a lot of stuff going. We have lives, and lots of stuff goes on for us, and then we've seen something around this understanding that's been incredibly helpful. And so we would love to share that with you and help you. So if there is ever anything we can help you with, please do reach out. That's what we're here for.
So that's our shared one. Yes. My personal loving this week is Lucy. So Deb obviously mentioned a minute ago some stuff that's kind of... Lou's been on an incredible journey.
She has.
In the last month or so. I mean... for years, obviously, because they just are. But it's really ramped up this year. Really watched her step up her game in a way that I didn't know she was ever going to do. I had no idea she was going to do that. And she has been so open and honest and so sharing with us. And it has just entirely blown me away. Like, older siblings, they're often people that you look up to, hopefully, and inspire you. But I can't even put into words how much she has been doing that in the last month for me. And so I'm absolutely, completely head over heels in love with my big sister. She is just amazing, and has really wowed, I think, both of us. But
yes,
for me, so if you don't know, she recently put out a video. She did an interview with the lovely Stu Newbury on what's been going on for her recently with her journey, particularly her relationship around alcohol. And it's an incredible interview. It really, she's just so open and sharing, and puts it out there what's been happening for her. So we'll put a link below this to watch that video, because it's amazing, and what she's up to and what she's been doing.
And obviously we've been behind the scenes of all this, so we've kind of seen
we've had a front row seat, amazing show.
She has literally gone to the depths of despair and brought herself back again, hasn't she? And it's been incredible to watch. It's been incredible for her to see the grounding that she had, and in spite of how difficult she definitely had a very, very difficult spell, and to watch her kind of go there, but to somehow hold on to the grounding that she has had through this understanding, and how she's coming back now. Wow.
Yeah, so massive love to our Lucy.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that's our living.
I think we can all share all of them, actually, because you've done the self-love thing. So obviously you love you as much as I love you.
Yes.
We
Where's this
we
going
both
then?
love all of our community. We love all of our people the same. And we both love Lucy.
Yes, so it was just a triple sharer.
A love fest.
It was a love fest, wasn't it? Which is appropriate in a week of self-love challenges.
Absolutely.
Because that is what happens as we start to love ourselves. We can't help but love everyone around us.
It does. It opens us up to just fall in love with life, fall in love with everything in it, the people. It's amazing, isn't it? It's a beautiful.
It certainly is. Yeah
I feel very, very blessed and incredibly lucky.
Me too.
So our question this week so our question this week is, am I with the right person? So this to me is a really, really interesting question, isn't it? And I know, like, for the longest time, it was a question that used to go round and round in my head. You know, when I was in my incredibly unhealthy relationship, to me, it was all the fault of this other person, you know, and it was I'd ended up with the wrong person. And oh gosh, yeah, all of those things. So then being asked the question, you know, am I with the right person? Now, obviously, this is a general putting out to the public, and you know, there's not a person in front of me actually asking this question about a specific person. So from that respect, I would always say, you know, if this is a question that's in your head, if you were in front of me and we were having this conversation, then I guess I would just go with my wisdom in that moment and say what occurred to me with what I knew about maybe what was going on there. But what I really see about this, and it came out a little bit when I was sharing with my living and learning, when I was talking about how the people in my life changed when I changed. And that continues to happen. You know, the more that I bring things back to me, the more it looks like everybody in the world, I begin to see people differently. And I honestly, hand on heart, I don't know if they change or I change, and I don't know how that works and what is going on. But what it points to me is, if I am asking the question, am I with the right person? Turn that question completely round. What about, am I the right person to be with? Would I be in a relationship with the me that I am right now in this moment? And that is the way that I would bring that back to me. I would then look at me, you know, turn the spotlight on me when there's something going on in a relationship, a specific thing going on in a relationship. And that is very much what I did with my relationship with my daughter. And when me and Lou were struggling a little bit, it was, instead of me, you know, inside my head with both of them and with every other relationship I've ever struggled with, you know, my head is kind of going, they should change this. They should be different in this way. They should do this. They shouldn't do that. And it was always, you know, my head wants to make it about that person and that person being the wrong person. And what I see more and more with my heart is that when I bring it back to me and get curious about how I can change, how I can show up more generous, how I can show up being kinder, how I can show up differently. And that might sound, you know, I was the queen of people pleasers, and there is maybe only a tiny difference in how we would describe that, but the difference is night and day difference in the way that we show up in this way. This isn't, I'm not pointing towards be a people pleaser. I'm not pointing to do anything that you can to make this person like you. Stop being you, stop, you know, doing it's not that. It's actually a deep investigation into who am I, and show up way more as the truth of who you are. Because that voice in your head that's me is not you. And when you show up from that place, and when the voice says, well, you're not good enough, you're not pretty enough, you need to be prettier, and then the person will be the right person, or you need to be kinder, and then the person will be the right person. It's not a head thing. This is a heart thing. This is a deeper truth of who we are thing. And when we show up from knowing that we are love, then it automatically, we know whether somebody is, you know, if a relationship shouldn't be, because this isn't always about making every relationship last forever. We know then in our hearts whether we should be in that relationship or not. And from that place, if things need to be ended, we can end them gently and kindly.
Yeah, I really like that, Deb. You said something last night when we were doing this that was really funny, so I'm going to have to say it again because you missed it out today. Sorry. When you were talking about the coming back to you and am I the right person to be with, do you remember you said, if I was on a dating site, would I date me? And I just thought that was a brilliant way of looking at it. If I saw my profile on a dating site, would I date me?
Yeah, if I was ruthlessly honest about who I am.
Yeah, would I actually date me? I just thought that was a really cute way of saying it last night. So here's what's really interesting to me. So we were partway through my answer to this when we realized that the show hadn't worked last night, and we kind of stopped. And then what happened, that we kind of decided not to do the show and to come back on it and give it another go today. And then I spent some of my evening last night clearing out some old documents from my computer. It's something that has been in my mind to do for a while, and I've just never kind of made the time to do it. So I sat last night and went through some old documents on my laptop and got rid of some. And interestingly, what I came across was a couple of documents that I'd written. One of my things, if I've kind of got stuff going on, I'll kind of go into writing mode and I'll just write some stuff and I'll say some stuff. And I found a couple of things that I'd written from the times that I was going through some of my real relationship issues, some of the stuff I really struggled with, and some stuff I'd written there. And I just thought, how interesting that I didn't know about those letters, those things that I'd written when I was answering that question. And so the show didn't happen. And now I'm going to kind of answer this question from actually having been reminded of literally what I was going through and what was going through my mind in some of those moments where I was having that kind of question in my head. Am I with the right person? So, I mean, I'm not going to tell you some of the stuff I wrote in there, but I actually read some of the stuff I'd written, and some of it was really icky, and I could really feel the mess that I was in. And some of it was really kind of heartfelt, and I could see the person underneath trying to come through and kind of work out what the hell was going on. So it's really interesting to me to have had that little reminder before I actually answer the question that you hopefully get to hear this time. So what I started with yesterday was, when we developed Relationship School, what was going on for us was that we wish someone had told us some of this stuff before we got into the messes we got into. So I'm going to kind of answer this question from the perspective of talking to myself sort of 10, 15 years ago. And now I've got a refresher of where I was at. Such a helping hand. So I can very specifically remember a relationship I was in that I was asking myself that very question, am I with the right person? And I had like a kind of in my mind a list of all the reasons why they were the right person, and a list of all the reasons why they
did you have a
weren't.
spreadsheet about it?
No, I never wrote it down, or at least I never came across that document last night. No, I think that was just in my kind of mind's eye. These are the reasons why they are or could be. These are the reasons why they might not be the right person. And very much what I really wish someone had sat down and told me at that time was very similar to kind of what Deb's pointing to, but perhaps worded in a different way, is that I didn't need a person. I don't need a person. I am whole, complete, and perfectly okay if I never have another person in my life in any way. And that's in any kind of relationship, whether that's a romantic one or, like Deb's talked about, her children, and obviously we all live together, so we kind of have, you know, family working relationships. You know, I am perfectly whole and complete with or without any of those relationships. And when I was asking that question, and when I had those lists of the reasons why that person was or wasn't right for me, I didn't know that. That was coming from a place of believing that I wasn't whole and complete. And so I had to have the right puzzle piece that fit with me. And so they would have had to have been right. You know, if that had been true, they would have to have been the right person. If you've ever done jigsaws and you get the wrong piece, it just doesn't quite go, does it? You know, it doesn't, you have to either kind of force it in or it's too loose. So if that was true, if I wasn't whole and complete, I would have had to have found the right person. And so, yeah, it would have been a brain teaser and a half to try and find that right person. So what I really wish someone had talked to me about and had known and shared with me 10, 15 years ago when that was puzzling me was that I didn't actually need another person to be whole and complete. That comes as part of the package. And then what inevitably happens is the question doesn't become, am I with the right person? It becomes, like Deb says, partly, am I the right person? And then for me, second to that, actually, if I'm whole and complete, can I just be with somebody? Can I just sit with somebody, whoever it might be, whether it's my partner, my auntie, my sister, you know, whoever it might be? Am I the right person in this moment to be with them? And can I just see the okayness in that, whoever they are? Because I don't need to have a list of whether they're right or wrong, their good bits and their bad bits. It's irrelevant. I just turn up and be myself, and they get to do the same. They get a space to be themselves. And then it's simply a case of, for me, it really comes down to the simplicity of, do I like hanging out with this person? Do I like hanging out with this person? And, if 90% or, 80% or 95% of the time that comes back as a yes, I do, there's nothing more in it than that for me. I like hanging out with that person. And when I'm in the headspace of I'm the right person and I'm okay with myself and I see my wholeness and completeness, I just enjoy hanging out with whoever I'm hanging out with, whether it's Deb on a YouTube live, whether it's my partner and we're walking along a beach, or whether, whoever it is, whether it's the person serving me at the Asda checkout. It just doesn't, that person is the right person because I'm the right person, because it only ever starts with me. And I just didn't know that 10 years ago. These documents that I was reading last night, I was writing the things that the other person needed to think about and do better and be better. I admitted some of the things that I could do better too. Gosh. I was very, very forward thinking in my approach. But I was reading some of what I'd written, and I could really see I was asking that person to do some stuff for me so that I felt okay, so that we were better together.
Do you know, one of the things that I see is interesting when we are asking somebody else to do something, it is that, can we do that?
Can we do that ourselves? Yeah.
That is one of the bring it back to me things, It's like when I have that with somebody else, they should do this. They should respect me more. Yeah. Then it's like, do I respect me? Have I got respect for me? And very often I find that the places that other people seem to be deficient is actually where I'm deficient.
Yeah. And I think when I was reading through some of that last night, I could hear some of that in what I was saying. I could see the place where I'm trying to think of an example of what I actually said. Some of it was about being honest and open and sharing more. And so, I could straight away see, oh my gosh, I was so dishonest. I was so scared to share. And I can still have those moments. It's not, one of the things Lucy's been showing us this week is how we can still have those places that we're not brave enough to be open and honest yet. But I was reading some of the stuff I'd written, and I could see straight away the places, knowing from what I know now, I could see how that was actually just me reflecting on that person. I needed to be more honest. I wasn't being honest with myself. But definitely my key thing around, am I with the right person, is absolutely about knowing the wholeness and completeness of me first. And then any person I have the pleasure to be with is amazing. It's amazing to hang out with people in whatever way we get to have a relationship with someone. That's an absolute gift. It's a gift to get to hang out with me. And I had a great day on Sunday hanging out with me. And, Deb dropped in and out of my room a few times to see what on earth was happening.
There was a lot of banging and noises.
A lot of hoovering.
A lot of hoovering noises, which is most unusual for Beth.
It was, yeah. But I was mostly hanging out with me. And if you'd have asked me at that point, am I the right person to hang out with? I absolutely was. I was having a great time hanging out with me. And then it can't help but overflow in hanging out with other people. I can't help but hang out with the right people in whatever way I label that relationship, because I'm right.
Isn't it interesting when I can look back and see when I wasn't right, the reason I hung out with other people was so that I didn't have to hang out with me.
Yeah.
So that I didn't have to be on my own with my own mind. I'd hang out with other people. And now kind of, the more that I've brought that back to me, and the more, like you say, if I am the right person, then I can hang out. And I think that can happen. I've seen that happen both ways. I've seen people hide and just hang out with themselves, but not in a healthy place.
Yes.
It's that place of balance that we talk about, Beck.
There's
we
a
haven't
balance
said that
here.
for yeah.
Who knew?
There absolutely is. Yeah. It's
Yeah, so that was really interesting timing to me that we didn't end up getting through the rest of that question, because I obviously needed to go back and have a look at what was actually happening for me 10, 15 years ago. So, yeah, that's a question for today.
An interesting one. So our topic this week is nothing to lose and nothing to gain. And interestingly, we had somebody contact us and talk to or share with us something that was going on for them. And I'm sure, this is a very common thing that goes on for a lot of people. And it really fits absolutely beautifully with this topic. So with permission, we're going to share a little bit around that. So it was about a young man who's 15, 16, a young boy, who, like a lot of us at that sort of age, teenage age, maybe has gone a little bit astray, off the straight and narrow, off the path that we as mums and sisters and, and brothers of these lovely young people, off the path that we would maybe be choosing for them, and got into trouble a little bit in not great ways. And then kind of coming across this understanding and beginning to see the whole and completeness that Beck was talking about, and that we're always pointing you towards, kind of beginning to see, that we are always okay. But then sort of also being aware that some of the behaviors that this young person is indulging in, some of the things that this person is doing could potentially lead to an accident, could lead to them getting into trouble and maybe ending up in prison, could end up maybe with them dying, and it's like that. It's very, very difficult when those kinds of things are on the table to kind of see past that and see the whole and completeness and see the okayness. And it's like, it's very easy to lose yourself in those moments and get into fear, anxiety, worry, and then act from that place with this person, kind of share from that place. And from a very well-meaning place as well, seeing that it might help this person if you tell them what you're seeing and speak to them in this way. So it was, this person got in touch with us and was like, I've seen the okayness, I've seen that I'm always okay, but I get lost in my thinking about this person, this person in my life. And I'm sure we have all had people in our life in that way, that it's kind of, we we point to this deeper okayness, but it is, very, very scary, or we can get into a very, very scary place. So I know that some of you have already heard this story because, I know that I have shared this before, but I have a son, and he has had his struggles, like all of us. He's had his struggles in his life, and he was very ill at one point, and the doctors thought that he might die. And then he's had suicidal thoughts, as we do sometimes. And so I wanted to kind of share what I had seen around those moments, because it doesn't look that different to me than what this person is talking about. There's someone in their life that has got into a position where perhaps they might die, perhaps they might have an accident that would, damage them for life, perhaps they might do something in their life that isn't maybe looking like it's following their wisdom, that isn't looking like it's a good idea to us. And so when a lot of the things were going on with my son, I was kind of giving talks, I was talking to people about this built-in okayness, that we are always okay. And then this stuff was happening with my son. So as we've talked about today, as I always do, this is kind of, okay, go inside and look at this. Actually just get quiet and look at what is going on here. And that was really where today's subject came, nothing to gain and nothing to lose. It was kind of seeing that we come here, and everything that we do in life, the way that life works, the way that we go to work, the way that we grow up and we go to school and we get a job, and we're taught a lot about that, we have to try and aspire to something. We have to get somewhere. There's something to get. We're kind of given this message that there's something lacking in us if we don't get the right job and the right partner and the right car and the right house. All these kinds of things are sort of, in the world, it feels like we're pointed in that direction. And what I saw when I was kind of going inside and asking the questions about my son was that that's not how it is. You know, we come into this world whole and complete. So no matter what we achieve in life, no matter, you know, if we get the job of our dreams, if we have the most beautiful house, if we earn all the money, if we, no matter what we do, no matter how highly we achieve, we don't actually gain anything. And also, no matter how much we fail, also it appears, you know, no matter if we don't get a decent job, if we don't ever feel like we have enough money, if we don't ever feel like we are enough, if we feel like we fail, everything we touch turns to rubbish and we totally fail, we still have nothing to lose. Nothing, you know, that the truth of who we are, there is something within us, the part of us that isn't born and doesn't die. There's a part of us that cannot be changed. We can't lose anything no matter what. And I think with my son, what I managed to see was that that is the same for him. And even if he does die, my love for him doesn't have to change, because I am love and he is love. He doesn't have to be here for me to love him. He doesn't have to do the right thing to earn anything. He has nothing to gain and he has nothing to lose. And just kind of the invitation here is to see what you see around that. You know, if you dare, we're always talking about kind of daring to go to our darkest places. And that definitely, you know, that it feels to me, you know, as a mom with a child, even a grown-up child, it feels like the last thing that I want to actually allow to enter my mind is the fact that one of my children could die. Whoa, you know, not even going there. And when we run away from those things, when we run in the other direction and get fearful, that thing becomes bigger and bigger and bigger and overtakes us. And yet when we quietly, from a place of peace, dare to go in that direction and look inside and see what we can see, we touch our own consciousness, we touch places within us that show us the okayness of whatever is going on. And then in the same, you know, in the examples that I shared earlier, that how much my daughter changed and how much Lucy changed, you know, I don't know what that had to do with anything that was going on for me. But when we touch those places in us, magic happens. And who knows what that magic is going to be. But what I have seen is the relationship that I have with my son is incredibly special, because I managed to face the fact that his life might not pan out the way that I would see it as ideal. He might not always be doing the things that I want him to do. But facing that gently and lovingly has opened up something else for him and for me. So.
Wow. That was amazing. Thank you, Deb. So for me, the nothing to lose and nothing to gain, I really, like, it feels like I was very much brought up from an understanding of, if you do these things, you will gain this.
Yeah.
And if you do these things or you don't do these things, you will lose everything. Like, that was what was taught to me as I kind of grew up, particularly in my church community. It feels to me like that's a fairly worldwide kind of understanding of life, but particularly I felt in the church community I was brought up with, that, you know, if you do these things and you follow these rules, you will gain the kingdom of God. If you do it wrong or you make some mistakes, you will lose everything and effectively, you know, be condemned to a life of hell forevermore. in some ways that was kind of, and I don't feel like it was even said quite that specifically. It was much more of an implied thing. It was much more of the way we lived our lives and the things that we were taught from the Bible. That was an implied thing. I don't feel like anyone ever sat me down and said it in those words, but that was kind of what I felt like I was hearing. And I think there's a lot of that that's kind of shared in the world. And it's a really, really simple, innocent misunderstanding. In no different a way to, we thought the world was flat for a really, really long time, and if you sail too close to the edge, you drop off. Really simple, innocent misunderstanding. And it makes sense if you think that, to keep people safe and not let them sail too far. And so I really see in my church, it was a loving thing. They wanted to keep me safe. Yeah. I totally get that. But I can see the misunderstanding in it now. And very much for me, this conversation has been about looking at that again, looking to see whether that's true, or whether, exactly like Deb was saying, we don't have anything we can lose or gain here. What we get is just an opportunity to experience life in whatever way we want to do that. And it can look sometimes like, I have £10 in the bank and I can gain more money. I have a car on the drive and I could lose that if I crash it. You know, that can look really real. Like, I have stuff I can gain in this life and stuff I can lose in this life. But what I really see for me is that this human and spiritual game that plays out, this kind of dance that we do, there isn't anything fundamental about me that can ever be taken away. There's nothing, if I start from a position of I've got to better myself, I've got more I should be doing, I can gain and be a better person, then I'm going to have a bit of a slog on my hands through my life. And if I've got a kind of, there's things I can lose, there's things that if they don't belong to me anymore, I'm in trouble, then I've got a defensive system I've got to put into place here. I've got to defend things. And that's hard. I've been there, I've done that. And I'm sure many of you listening have too, in your ways. But for me, what I like about this conversation is it invites me to look in a different way at that. What if I can't lose, and what if I can't gain? If I had nothing to lose and nothing to gain, what would I play out in the world? What would I do? How would I show up differently? And for me, this conversation, from the beginning of this conversation, from whatever it was, 6-7 years ago when I first, 5-6 years ago when I first started having this conversation, that was the challenge, that was the gauntlet that Deb kind of threw down. And again, maybe not in the words that specific, but if you realised you had nothing to lose and nothing to gain, what would you do? And what I notice is what actually kind of happens paradoxically is I feel better and I appear to grow more and I appear to have more in my life that I love and cherish than when I'm defending and when I'm scared to play the game of life, when I'm sitting at home frightened to drive my car in case I crash it, or feeling I have to go out and earn thousands upon thousands of pounds, and if I don't, I'm a failure. I actually have a much nicer life experience. I have more people in my life that I love. I value myself and the people around me far more than when I'm living from defensive mode. So to me, it's like, do you know what? Even if that isn't how it works, I'm having a way better time than somebody who thinks it works that way. You know, there was something we saw on Facebook the other day. Somebody kind of put a whole post about how they have to fight through life and how they have to pick the right fights and how they have to defend this and fight for that. And some fights aren't worth getting into. And the whole post, there was little bits in the middle of it that were what I would have called truth, that I would have gone, that, just take that and go with it. And then it was surrounded by this complete misunderstanding of having to fight to be better and make the world better and not to lose this and make sure we gain that. Mm-hmm. And as we kind of read it, and one of the reasons for me that we sometimes do read those kinds of things for us is so that we can then come back and see what we know to be true. Like, it's actually a kind of a kind of reverse reminder. It's like, no, it isn't this, it isn't this, it isn't this. What actually is it? And we then had a kind of conversation about what actually is it here. We don't have to fight to gain stuff. We don't have to defend so we don't lose stuff. What we get the opportunity here to do is see exactly like we were saying earlier, the wholeness and completeness of who we are. Beyond all the stories we have of how many arms and legs we might have and how good we are at earning money or not, whether we, whatever it might be, whether we've got children or we think we should have had children or we have children we wish we didn't, whatever our stories out in the world might be, we get the opportunity to keep coming back to find the place where we're already whole and complete, to know that peace is already ours, to know that no matter what we do out in the world, that plasticineness that we talk about sometimes, that can't be taken out of us. You can't remove our plasticineness. We've been molded into slight variations of different people across the world, but you cannot remove the essence of what created us. That can't be added to and that can't be taken away. There is nothing we can lose or gain, no matter what game we play. So when we know that, this is kind of the question that comes to us again and again. When we know that, what can we do in the world? Oh, create relationship school. Oh, have a 5-day challenge. Oh, redo our YouTube show because it didn't appear to work last night. We didn't lose anything by not having that show last night. And we don't gain anything by turning up again today and trying again. We just have a great time.
And paradoxically, we gain everything.
Yeah, and paradoxically, we appear to gain it all because we feel great and we're having a lovely time. And that very much for me is what this conversation is, almost in a really nice, gentle, loving, understanding way, unpicking the misunderstanding that appears to be out there in society, that appears to be what I was taught as I grew up in church. It's just gently unpicking that and saying, okay, over here, if I had nothing to lose or gain, what would I do? In this place here, in my work, in my relationships, with money, with my car, with driving, with anything at all, what if I had nothing to gain from doing that? And what if I couldn't lose anything if I did that? It's amazing what we turn up and do.
It truly is life-changing, isn't it, when we begin to see that. And it is an amazing paradox to watch play out when we start to see that we have nothing to gain and nothing to lose.
And it's been, for me, as we've started to read the New Testament, it's been really interesting because I absolutely love the Bible and I love what to me is the message that comes through that. But I was very scared for a long time after I left the church to read my Bible again because I was a bit afraid that the filters I'd got from what I'd seen in the past would still be there and I wouldn't see anything new and fresh. So it's been really nice over the last week to pick up the New Testament because the message that's coming through is so clear to me in a totally different way now. And I can just see the really, really innocent misunderstanding of what I believed before was coming through that message. And what I really see is coming through now. Like what we're really taught in the Bible and what's really come through from Jesus's messages and parables and all the other people that share in the Bible is this nothing to lose and nothing to gain.
It's the same message as Sid shared. It's the same message as all spiritual teachers share.
When you look at spiritual teachings, it's out there. We have nothing to lose and nothing to. And for me, that was actually what came through in the meditation when I was talking about letting go and not being able to. I couldn't. My hands just weren't there. I couldn't lose them. I couldn't gain them. In that moment, that was just the experience I was having. And it's a magical game to play. Letting go.
It is. Surrender, letting go. Yeah, beautiful. So thank you. I hope there was something helpful in that. And as always, we love hearing from you. We love connecting with you. And there are all sorts of ways that you can work with us if you would like to dive deeper in this conversation with us. We've got Relationship School coming up, so look out for that.
Yes.
We have our next mentoring. We do group mentoring. And our next one is coming. It's going to start in March. There is some places on that still. And we are doing a year-long mastermind. If you want to go to our website and have a look at the details of that, there's so we have one more place left on that.
We do. And just before, because
competition.
we haven't done that, we haven't told you what your competition is yet. So what in order to win a copy of the relationship manual that we talked about earlier, we are asking you, we have shared over the last couple of months living, learning and loving, and we want to hear from you. We've shared a lot, so we want to hear from you. So the competition is for you to comment once this video is on our YouTube channel, to go and find the replay and comment on there with something you've been living, learning or loving, or a combination of any of
all
those
of them,
three,
or one of them,
as
or
much
anything.
as you
Yeah,
like.
we'd love comments from you.
Yeah, so just to comment on there. And part of the reason we're doing it this way is because we do a lot of stuff on YouTube that's entirely for free and can be very helpful for people, and we want to keep that as a free resource. And one of the ways in which we can do that is to build our audience and our engagement so that we can actually earn, make it a kind of monetized YouTube show, so that we can earn money from somewhere else on YouTube, and you guys get to keep having this resource entirely for free. And the way to do that is to build our engagement, and we want to do that. We would
love your help.
Yeah, we do obviously do some paid programs, but we want to be able to keep YouTube as a free resource to keep putting out these amazing videos and shows that are helpful. So we're asking for your help, but we're not asking for your help entirely, without return. So if you're engaged in and enjoying and want to join in that competition, you can win the relationship manual. We'll pick our favourite comment and announce on the show next week who's won that. So let us know what you're learning, living, learning and loving.
Or living, learning, or loving.
Yeah, any combination of any of that. We'd just love to hear from you.
Brilliant.
And just before we finish, our topic next week is the missing piece. And our question next week is, if I didn't control things, how do I know things will happen? So join us, fingers crossed, at 5 o'clock on Wednesday next week.
Yeah, have a great week, and I'm sure you know where we are in other places to catch up with us, and it'd be great to see you.
Yes, thanks for joining us.
Take care.
Bye.